The Steelers Extra Point Show, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside our studio as we present our Extra Point Show following a Steeler win. Very ugly at times, but a win is a win, as they say. 26-21, they do get that W. Got some big plays early in the game to build a lead, hung on at the end. Denver had plenty of opportunities, but the Steelers walk away with the 5-point win that puts them at 2 wins and no losses. We'll be on the air until 6 o'clock, and we have a lot to get into. We'll have post-game reaction from Heinz Field. Rich Walsh is over there. But first, after this 26-21 win, let's go over to Studio B. Chris Hokey Bro 76 is standing by with his thoughts on this game. And Chris, as I said, ugly is a word I would use at times, but big plays define the game for the Steelers, especially early on. Absolutely. Like you said, Bob, in your intro, win's a win, especially in September when these games we know end up to really matter late in December and for the playoff push. But you look at this game, 17-3 at halftime. The Steelers went in thinking they had this game won. Their starting quarterback down, missing other players. They looked like they were going to run away with this game. The Broncos battled. They fought back. And the Steelers gave up 2 critical turnovers in this game. Ben's interception picked off by Justin Simmons, and then a Benny Snell fumble. Both of those, Bob, were taken back for touchdowns that kept the Broncos in this game. Yeah, mistakes. You can't make them. And Benny Snell, for as good as a game as he had last week, he also now has had 2 fumbles. One bailed out by Juju Smith-Schuster last week, and now this one, which really was just loose. A carry of the football. He cannot allow that to happen if he wants to have more opportunity in the run game, which, quite frankly, Chris, was not all that effective until a 59-yard run at the end of the game by James Conner. Other than that, though, and I realize they have injuries. No DeCastro, no Wisniewski, no Banner, but still, you got to do better than that. You got to do better than that. Listen, James Conner started off strong. He was running the ball, 4 or 5 yards a tote in the first quarter, and then things started to slow down. I believe that Vic Fangio, he challenged his defense, and they stepped up and rose to the call when it came to the run game. They didn't get much pressure on the quarterback. Let's talk about Benny Snell, like you brought up, Bob. I believe Benny Snell, after coming off of last week, a 19-carry, 113 yards, he felt like he should have gotten more playing time today. Then he gets minimal carries. You could see a young fella now getting a little frustrated, coming out there and late in the game, turning that ball over when he should have held that ball tight, loosely held. Those kind of things, he's got to be able to stay focused throughout the game, even if things aren't going the way that he'd like. Yeah, and it's kind of weird. We're scratching our head there thinking the Steelers had 7 sacks. They had hit the quarterback 12 times. They knocked out their starter. They have an 84-yard bomb touchdown. All these big plays, and yet Denver at the end had a chance to win the game, if not for a Terrell Edmunds sack, which looked like a blown play there by Denver. So bottom line is they did not put it away when they had to, and I agree with you, Chris. They did not, at halftime, react the way they should have, which is you're still in the game. Don't forget the fact it's Jeff Driscoll, a quarterback. They still have a chance, and the Steelers allowed them to re-enter the game, and that's something that's got to change. Absolutely. Here's what happens. They come out and played sloppy in the second half. A lot of penalties. You look at 10 penalties for 89 yards, 6 of those penalties to put the Broncos and gave them a first down. So that's what PIs in the second half. We saw that happening. Gave them first downs, extended the drives that led to touchdowns. Those things have to be cleaned up. You cannot have 10 penalties for 89 yards, and primarily most of those on the defense. The other thing, too, when they got ball position on the field, which was tremendous, they had the ball at Denver's 47, their own 47 to start a drive, and then Denver's 11 after a Haden interception. They only got 3 points out of that, Chris. Yeah, they only got 3 points. It seemed like the Steelers were trying to go east and west rather than north and south. A lot of just throwing quick passes, hoping that guys like Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster can make guys miss and get first downs. The Broncos were rallying to the ball and getting them down, and they weren't able to convert those drives. They had a lot of favorable position in this game, Bob. You look at a lot of times getting the ball at midfield. You talk about the missed field goal by the Broncos, by McManus. They got the ball around midfield. A nice return by Ray McLeod. Could not take that. There were a lot of opportunities that were missed in this game. Yeah, but the defense continued to put up big numbers, at least sack totals. When you talk about takeaways in the first 6 quarters, I think it was, of the season now, they had 7, 8, 9 sacks and 4 takeaways. And anytime you get the takeaways and turn them into touchdowns, which happened again today, that's a big thing. I think the defense can help the offense in that regard, and that has to continue. I thought one of the biggest calls of the game offensively was the call to Claypool, only because it came after Deontay Johnson had a punt return touchdown called back. But what an effort that was. Boy, you see that guy, you can understand why the word scintillating is next to his name. He can do a lot in special teams. But right after that, Chris, they go for the bomb. And I think at that point, they wanted to say, all right, you got that taken off the board. We're going to come right back at you. And Claypool beat his man one-on-one and a great dime by Ben.
And that was a great play. You look at that play. He was under pressure. He got hit as he threw that ball by a blitzing inside linebacker, and he threw it nice in the right, perfect location. You saw that Chase almost fell down. He's able to catch it, stay on his feet, stay in bounds, and win that sprint to the end zone. And that's the kind of big play-make ability you need from a guy like Chase Claypool. And you saw it today with that 84-yard touchdown run.
You know what I like about him is he is a willing volunteer for special teams. Yes, he's a rookie. Yes, he's going to be there, but he wants to be there. He made a big difference at Notre Dame playing there all of his years, and he wants to be on special teams. All right, 26-21 your final score. The Steelers are now 2-0. They'll remain home next week. We have plenty coming up for you, including more analysis from Chris Hoke, Rich Walsh over at Heinz Field. We're going to have Zoom player interviews, Mike Tomlin, and then we're going to have some calls later on with our sports call segment of this post-game report. Steelers win 26-21. It was ugly at times, but they got it when they needed it, and they're 2-0 to start this NFL season. We'll be back with more right here live on Pittsburgh CW. The Xfinity Extra Point is brought to you by Xfinity. Change the way you experience TV with Xfinity X1.
Another day, another chance to bounce forward.
Let's do this!
By making your internet speeds fast and reliable, so you can keep up with your customers. By ensuring those speeds have wireless internet backup, so if the power goes down, your connection doesn't. And by covering all your connected devices with serious security, so we can handle this and this, while you get on with this and this. Be fast, be secure, bounce forward with Comcast Business. Get started with a great offer, and for a limited time, get a $500 prepaid card. Call or go online today.
Grit, determination, desire to be the best, or as we call it, going to work. But good luck getting the job done without the right tools. You'll need an F-150 with best-in-class payload and plenty of capability to do it right. That's how you become the best-selling trucks in Pittsburgh and the official truck of your Pittsburgh Steelers.
The way things are changing is personal. And while everyone's financial needs are different, we're working to help with each one, so your small business stays open, your community thrives, and you're ready for what's next. Because we've always done what's right. So whether you're out with a friend, thinking about your business, or spending lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of time with the kids, we're here. It's how we're making a difference, now and for the future. PNC Bank.
I close my eyes. I feel the energy running through my veins. It fuels my drive. It feeds the fire within. The power of the sun. It's there for the taking. Don't hesitate. Never hesitate.
It's time to let the sun fuel your life. It's time to own your power.
Welcome back to Steelers Extra Point, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
All right, Mike Tomlin is at the press conference podium. Let's go there live to hear his post-game remarks.
And we were highly penalized. And so, we'll look at the penalties, man, and work to play cleaner. But it was an Achilles heel for us today. It extended drives. It allowed those guys to remain in the game. We made the necessary plays. We bowed up when we had to on offense and defense and special teams. And so we're thankful for that. We understand early in the season, man, we're not going to be perfect. We were good enough to win. We'll make the necessary corrections tomorrow and then push forward. We got a good Houston Texans team coming in here next week, and we'll be ready for that.
1 second.
Well, as it is with Zoom these days, sometimes the mute button goes off or on. Sometimes the raise hand feature goes off or on, and I'm sure the Steelers are trying to figure that out right now. So hopefully we'll get back to that press conference with Mike Tomlin. He did talk about penalties, and man, they had a lot of them today. They allowed drives to extend for Denver. They also hurt the Steelers in so many ways. Again, the Deontay Johnson touchdown return of, I think it was 81 yards, nullified because of a block in the back, which to me was one of those plays you didn't necessarily have to call it. And quite frankly, Chris, if I can get you back in here as we venture to get that back up, it seemed like the NFL's not calling as many penalties. Today changed a little bit. Last week, I didn't see as many calls. In fact, I don't think I saw a holding call all of last week.
Yeah, and listen, that penalty you talked about on that punt return by Deontay Johnson, to me, was a ticky-tack call. Now, listen, we didn't see a different angle. All we saw was the one angle where you saw the little slight push. I wouldn't have thrown the flag on that, but they did, and you got to live with it. But then been through that nice strike to Chase Claypool. But penalties today was really the name of the game for the Steelers, and I believe that's the reason why this game was so close.
All right, I think Mike Tomlin now has been fixed over there on the Zoom, at least from their end. Let's go back to it right now.
Excuse. We were far from perfect today in some of the areas that I outlined. And so we got to get better. We're thankful to win today in spite of it. And we understand that there's going to be some growth at the early stages of this thing, and we better make enough plays to win along the way. And we were able to do that today.
Mike Pursuta, go ahead.
Mike, could you guys rush Edmunds much, if at all, before that fourth down stop?
Yeah, we're capable of really bringing anybody, except the field corner. That's kind of our philosophical approach. We're a blitz group. It's tough to bring the field corner because of the distance that he plays from, but anybody else is capable of coming, and that's just the code that we live by.
Alan Saunders, go ahead.
Mike, when you get the starting quarterback out of the game, how does that change maybe what do you guys have game plan for, tendencies, and how much had you seen of or prepared for Driscoll?
We've played against Driscoll from his days in Cincinnati, but more than anything, it's tough to anticipate their alternative plans. The adjustments that they make, their package of plays that maybe highlight his skill set. It threw us off rhythm. It's something to adjust to, but I'm sure the loss of Drew Lock also threw them off rhythm. So, we're not going to make excuses for our performance, man. It's really a good job by them adjusting and adapting to circumstances and working to put themselves in position to win.
Dale Lawley, go ahead. Dale, go ahead. Joe Rudder, go ahead.
Fucking Christ.
Can you, live Mike.
Can you hear me? That was not me.
Yes, I can.
That was not me that swore.
Okay.
What did you think of the play of the offensive line with the guys you had in there kind of patching it together?
I'll wait to look at the tape in terms of evaluating it in that way, but I just appreciate the efforts and the attitude, particularly of the young guys. Kevin Dotson, starting his first game and missed quite a bit of time in team development. You got to tip your cap to him for his efforts. And Chooch, we know what he's capable of, so we're not surprised by his performance. But it was enough to win. We'll comb through it in the morning and get critical.
Jerry Dulac, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you bring in a lot of pressure. You had a lot of sacks. Was that the game plan going in, and did that change any differently when Driscoll had to come in?
That's just the code that we live by. I wouldn't necessarily call it a game plan. It's just our personality. But there are consequences that come with that. We have to be clean. We got to be clean on the back end in terms of DPIs and so forth. So we suffered some consequences from not being sharp today in that area. We got to shore those things up because our personality is not going to change.
Mark Caboli, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, your defense gave up some decent run plays early with a lot of that backside cutting. Was that just some gap integrity issues, and how did you clean that up?
No, you got to tip your cap to those guys. They had a good plan. Munch is a heck of a offensive line coach and run game coach, and I know that he understands us intimately, and that's probably a reflection of his understanding, to be quite honest with you.
Aditi, go ahead.
Coach Tomlin, 2 for 12 on third down. Was there anything in particular that made that tough sledding, or any trends that you noticed?
They perform well. They mix things up. We have to perform better. We don't make any excuses. It is what it is. It needs to be better than that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment those that we compete against when they perform well.
Jenna Horner, go ahead. Chris Adamski, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, you already have sacks from safeties, corners, inside linebackers, outside linebackers, defensive linemen, defensive tackles. Is that part of just guys making plays, or has it been a difference in terms of the blitzers you're bringing this year?
You know, like I said earlier, we'll bring anyone. And, you know, that's just a philosophical approach. We're an attacking group, and, you know, we understand the ramifications that come with that personality. And so, you know, we push forward with an effort to get better and sure certain things up that can be an Achilles heel when you play like that.
Will Graves, go ahead.
Mike, Benny put the ball on the ground again for a second straight week. What's your level of concern there, and how do you sort of help a young guy work around that problem?
You know, I don't know that I have a level. I know that I have got some concern because we got to maintain possession of the ball, particularly in those significant moments. And so he's a young guy growing in terms of situational awareness and things like that. I'm sure it'll be a growth experience for him, but we got some work to do there.
Time for a couple more. Brooke, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, when you look at the special teams and you have the safety by Derek Watt, and it looked like Ray had some good returns, how do you feel about the state of your special teams overall, especially given the lack of preseason games?
I'm really excited about it. I thought Deontay was dynamic. You know, I know we got a penalty on that punt return, but we had explosive plays in the return game. We had some splash, you know, with some other guys. So, you know, I just like the overall trajectory of it, and we just got to continue to grow.
Last one, Michael Ferrer, go
ahead. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Talk about the touchdown from Claypool, and he's had the big catch in the last game. Talk about his development as the wide receiver position and what he's brought to you so far.
You know, he's a young guy who has some talent. He's capable of stretching the field vertically. I think he's put that on display. But we've always got a young guy in the hopper at that position that stretches the field for us. We've had that over the number of years, and he's just the latest addition, but he's not just a one-trick pony. He's working to round out all aspects of his game and contribute to us in as many ways as he can.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin, and as you heard, live, Zoom, new stuff. We apologize for any language you may have heard there. It's totally accidental, and it happens when this thing was trying to be set up. But that's how it is these days with the Zoom hookup. I know one thing, Mike Tomlin was not happy with the penalties. There are a lot of things we can get into, and we will as we continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. This is the Extra Point. We'll have player reaction, more analysis from Chris Hoke, all coming up as we get closer to your calls at the top of the hour right here on Pittsburgh CW.
The problem with hanging on to the past is when you're always looking back, you can't see what's coming. Forward collision warning with emergency braking assist. Standard on Sportage, Telluride, Sorento SX, and Seltos SX. Part of Kia's tough and ready lineup of SUVs.
Right now, lease the 2021 Seltos LX all-wheel drive for $189 a month.
You may show up to IUP unsure of your major. Know this, you'll never be referred to as undecided, but instead as an explorer. Encouraged, mentored. Without losing time toward graduation, explore your options, then choose a major. Exploratory studies at IUP. Get to the best version of you.
Awesome internet. It's more than just fast. It keeps all your devices running smoothly. With built-in security that protects your kids, no matter what they're up to. Protects your info and gives you 24/7 peace of mind. That if it's connected, it's protected.
Here, want a treat?
Even that pet camera thingy. Can your internet do that? Xfinity XFi can, because it's simple, easy, awesome.
Because of this, we made Ford Super Duty the most capable heavy-duty pickup ever. Because of this, we built Ford F-150 with 375 horsepower and best-in-class payload.
Rescue 614 en route.
Because of this, we built Ford Ranger with the terrain management system. And because Ford trucks are built for this, you made Ford America's best-selling brand.
Welcome back to Steelers Extra Point, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
Ben Roethlisberger, 29 of 41, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 98.7 rating, and he is at the postgame podium right now. Let's join that Zoom interview
Jeff
right
Hathorn,
now.
go ahead.
Ben, what do you think was missing there in the third? And could you also describe the touchdown of the play Claypool made there on the sideline?
I think it was just, I didn't play well enough. I was looking back. I'll have better answers when I can look at the film, but I just got to trust myself and trust my guys. They're in the spots they're supposed to be. Sometimes you have to make an anticipatory throw, and I didn't do that well enough today. I didn't connect with guys when they were open. And so I just didn't play well enough. For Chase's touchdown, they had the safety down and just threw it up, and he made a play.
Aditi, go ahead.
Sorry. Ben, 2 for 12 on third down. Was there anything in particular that made that particularly tough sledding or anything that you can point to?
Me just not playing well enough.
Mark Caboli, go ahead.
Hey, Ben, the touchdown pass to Deontay, how difficult is that for the anticipation of the throw to lead him across the end zone like that? I would assume that had to be one of the more difficult throws the quarterback has to make.
It actually wasn't a very good throw. He made a great play on it. It was a little bit behind him. When it came off my hand, it didn't. I was afraid the guy was going to knock it down, but Deontay did a great job of kind of slowing down and making a body catch, and he made it a lot easier than it. It wasn't a good throw, so I'm thankful to him.
Jerry Dulac, go ahead.
Ben, talk about the pass to Claypool for the touchdown, and also just curious if the lack of a crowd, how different was it this week from last week because you don't have the home crowd with you?
Oh, we missed the crowd. That's one of the most special things about playing at Heinz Field is the best fans in the world, and so it's not the same. I'll be honest, being out there and not having them, not seeing all those towels. So we definitely miss them. Know that we still appreciate their support, even though we know they're not here. And for Chase's touchdown, we kind of had the coverage. They're in a zone, but that guy has that deep zone, and they blitzed a guy up the middle, and so I didn't have a lot of time. I just kind of threw it far and high and let Chase run under it, and he really did all the work.
Jenna Harner, go ahead.
Ben, how would you characterize what your defense was able to do today?
Well, they were special. They bailed us out numerous times when, they were sometimes even our best offense out there today. So I'm really thankful for them. And I've told them numerous times, and I'll reiterate it, that, they're one of the big reasons that I decided to come back, because they're a special group, and they won that game for us, no doubt.
Mike Pursuta, go ahead.
Ben, was there a point where you knew the right side of the O-line was going to hold up?
I mean, I had confidence coming in that they would. Those guys put the time, the effort in. Obviously, we knew that Chooks is a guy that was battling with Banner for the chance to start this year. So we know what he's capable of doing. He's played in the past for us. And as for Dotson, we were excited for him. I mean, the young man grew up a Steeler fan. I know he told me his dad watches it in his man cave upstairs, won't let anyone bother him. And so I was just so happy that he got out there and got to play. Gave him the ball afterwards and told him to give it to his old man. So I'm just really thankful for him and for both those guys and the whole line all together.
Dejon, go ahead.
Ben, how good of a feeling is it to complete a play like the one that you did with Claypool? I know there are touchdowns and then there are touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, when I threw it, I kind of got hit as soon as I threw it, or right after I threw it, I should say. And so without the crowd, you really don't know what happens, right? You can't tell if it's caught, incomplete, touchdown. I mean, there's just no reaction. And I had no idea what was going on. I kind of, had an idea that he caught it. And then he kind of kept running. And next thing I saw was Penalty turn around, running towards me. And I hadn't even a chance to see it all yet. So I'm excited to check it out, but what a play by him.
A few more. Jerry Dulac with a follow-up. Go ahead.
Ben, Mike Tomlin was saying earlier that this time of year it's not going to be perfect. And you guys did some good things, you did some bad things. How do you kind of weigh or counter what you did good against what you did bad today?
Well, Jerry, I'd say at the end of the day, we won the game. And that's truly all that matters. And yeah, early in the season, you can, I don't want to make excuses, but I didn't play well today. And that's the way it is. And we turned the ball over offensively, and that's on me. And I'm just glad that our defense bailed us out, like I said. But the good news is when you play poorly and you still win the football game. So that's something to be thankful for.
Brooke Pryor, go ahead.
That
Hey,
is
Ben, when
the
you
point
mentioned
with
some
Ben
of the-
Roethlisberger, that they didn't play all that well. He took a lot of the blame for that play today, 2 for 12 on third down. And I agree, that offense could have done more. As I mentioned earlier with the field position, let's bring back in Chris Hoke over in Studio B. And Chris, this game should not have been that close. I know a lot of people on social media are talking about the defense giving up a lot toward the end of the game. But I think that defense was on the field a lot because the Steelers' offense could not generate more points. And as a result, it got closer than it had to be. That and Mike Tomlin talked about the penalties. 10 penalties in this game. That's something you do not want, especially when they came. Typically on big plays that were nullified because of the penalty.
Yeah, they were on third down. I mean, six third down penalties that resulted in a first down. You got pass interference, you got late hitting the quarterback, roughing the passer, and you talk about the offense. And it was a sputtering offense, Bob, for most of the game. Getting the ball in favorable field position cannot convert and move the chains. You talk about third downs. I would say at the end of this game, the third down was 3rd and 10 plus was the average in this game, and that was the problem. They couldn't get 3rd and short, 3rd and medium in these games. It was always 3rd and long for the majority of the game.
It was, and that was one of the problems. They'll try to correct that. Again, Denver had lost a lot of people. You forget not just their quarterback Drew Lock, but Cortland Sutton left in this game, and they started this game without 2 Pro Bowl players on defense. So that was something. It's going to get tougher for the Steelers. They're going to have to bring more of their game, and they're going to have to do better things. But as Roethlisberger said, they got to win, and at this point, that's all that matters. 2-0 is the record following a 26-21 win. We continue with our coverage right here on a game day. We'll do it again next Sunday when the Texas comes to town, and it was a beautiful day today. Steelers win by 5. We'll be back with more right after this.
You want top quality roofing?
Replacing a roof isn't just shingles, it's a complete engineered system. Being an Owens Corning preferred contractor, JP Roofing and Siding understands how the whole system works. With over 38 years in the business, JP Roofing and Siding takes pride in their craftsmanship and do all their jobs right the first time.
If you're looking to get your roof replaced, hire JP Roofing and Siding. Quality long remembered at a fair price.
Grind on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go! We're back, baby, so let's talk football.
That's what it's all about.
It's an NFL season like no other.
He went airborne.
And NFL The Grind returns with exclusive, unprecedented access.
It's been a grind, emotionally and physically.
No matter what happens this season, we'll be there.
Let's get the hard question out of the way. Was it a fumble?
NFL The Grind with me, Rich Eisen. Only on FX.
Because of this, we made Ford Super Duty the most capable heavy-duty pickup ever. Because of this, we built Ford F-150 with 375 horsepower and best-in-class payload.
Rescue 614 en route.
Because of this, we built Ford Ranger with the terrain management system. And because Ford trucks are built for this, you made Ford America's best-selling brand.
What's that?
A threat's been detected.
This is not a drill, everyone! Abby, protect the children!
It's just a Wi-Fi network threat, and we have Xfinity XFi. Remember?
False alarm. Everything's fine. Except for you, Abby. That wasn't a good look.
Defend against Wi-Fi threats with Xfinity XFi. XFi Advanced Security gives you added protection to help keep your network secure. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Get started with Xfinity Internet for $39.99 a month for 12 months and get advanced security free with the XFi Gateway. Click, call, or visit a store today.
Welcome back to Steelers Extra Point, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
All right, welcome back as we continue with our post-game analysis of a Steeler 26-21 win. Rich Walsh has been over at Heinz Field, one of the few to watch this game in person. He joins us now. And Rich, it was interesting in the first half, man. There was a lot of pressure, quarterback hits, sacks, turnovers. The Steelers turned them into points. Second half, not so much. Got the feeling that this team kind of took it for granted. They have a backup quarterback in, they're up by 14, and they did not complete it. They were lucky to get away with a win.
Yeah, that's the way I feel, too. Definitely a tale of two halves here. And, you know, you look at mistakes, and I know Tomlin mentioned penalties, but I'm looking at turnovers, points off turnovers. The Denver Broncos did great in that category. There's two critical turnovers for the Steelers, and they capitalized. The other thing that I'm really looking at is a lack of a run game. The Steelers need to find consistent ability to run the ball. And you look at that third down conversion rate, and that's because there hasn't been a really good run attack for the Steelers right now. They had a couple fourth downs that they went for, but if they had a good rushing attack, maybe they don't have those fourth downs, especially the one on the goal line. And I kind of question maybe they should have went for it there. But I look at for the Steelers right now, you know, Ben Roethlisberger is back. That should give them the ability to run the ball right now, and that isn't there, whether it's Connor or Benny Snell. But I doubt you're going to see any kind of rotation now with Benny Snell putting it on the ground for 2 straight games now in critical situations. And this one could have really hurt the Steelers today.
Yeah, it could have. But, again, I think it's week 2. They've had a ton of injuries. You played with Dotson, first NFL game, Okorafor, that whole right side. I thought did pretty well. I thought Ebron was not a very good blocker, but we knew that going in. The run numbers speak for themselves. Prior to the 59-yard run by Connor, they only had 21 carries for 50 yards. Chris, that's an unacceptable average, and it's got to get better, but it does play a role in what happens after that. We have final numbers now, and I know you have some interesting takes on that.
Yes, Bob. Let's take a look at the final stats presented by JP Roofing. If you look right now, the Steelers had only 19 first downs to the Denver Broncos, 23 first downs. 6 of those, remember, were first downs because of penalties. And when you look at the rushing yards, again, take away that 59-yard run by James Conner. Here they had 22 carries for 109 yards, but that is a little inflated because of that run to the Denver Broncos, 26 for 104 yards. And when you look at Ben and throwing the ball, 29 for 41 for 301 yards to the Denver Broncos, and Jeff Driscoll, 19 for 39 for 215 yards. Here's where the Steelers really struggle in this game. It's the penalties, Bob. 10 penalties for 89 yards. The Denver Broncos, only 4 for 30 yards. Again, even here with the turnovers, 2 takeaways for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to 2 takeaways for the Denver Broncos defense. Time of possession, fairly close here, only about a minute off. The Steelers lost the time of possession battle, and usually you could tell in the game here, it was a closer game than the Steelers wanted, but it really came down to those penalties and third down.
Yep, absolutely, and they didn't take advantage of some of the things, as I mentioned. Joe Haden had a big interception in this game, returned it deep into their territory. They suffered, or they accepted just 3 points. They could have put a big touchdown on the board there, did not do it. That was his 28th career interception, and Joe Haden, speaking of him, he is now on the Zoom interview after the game. Let's check him out, number 23.
It was getting real. It was getting crunch time, you know. We felt like a lot of calls were not going our way, but we just knew once we started getting closer and closer to the red zone, it just always reminds us. We started talking about 7 shots that we do at practice. We're like, 7 shots, let's get off the field, let's win this game. So everybody, we were just locked in. The crowd, we kind of missed them, just to try to mess up the offense a little bit, but everybody was just communicating to the max, and we just saw the time on the clock. But definitely not having the crowd out there was a little different, because those are the situations where Heinz Field would have been jumping.
Alan Saunders, Pittsburgh Sports Now.
Hey, Joe, you mentioned the penalties. Is there anything you guys as a secondary feel like you can be doing differently to not get penalized so much, especially with the pass interference calls?
Man, I think some of those, I think some of the calls they were just bang, bang. A lot of them we weren't really trying to get as physical. We're trying to look at the tape and see what we can do. But some of those calls, I feel like a lot of them were just bang, bang calls, and they could have went either they couldn't have called it, or sometimes they will call it, because our coaches even told us, like, man, just keep playing the way you're playing. We were getting there, like, right on time. You know, sometimes those bang-bangs don't go your way, but we just still want people to try to be body on a body, being in close coverage. So we'll watch the tape and see how we can kind of try to avoid a couple more of those.
Chris Adamski, Trib.
Joe, the second half, Denver was driving a lot, but you guys got the stop there at the end. What was it like there in 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 to get the pass break up in the sack there? Or did you guys kind of stand up and show that when you needed to there? We gave up a lot more plays than we intended to today. They did a good job just matriculating the ball down the field. But, you know, when we get to that red zone, that tight red, that's where the point differences would swing between the 3-point or 7-point, or if they go for it on 4 downs, you know, it's a swing of 7 points. So we do that all the time. Like I said, we practice it basically every day with our 7 shots, with our defense versus our offense between the 2 and the 5-yard line. So we feel very, very comfortable down there, and we just had to stand up, communicate, and make those plays.
Joe Haden with his 28th career interception. That was a big one for the Steelers. A lot of those guys made big plays. Terrell Edmunds with a blitz at the end and a sack to put the game away. Also, Mike Hilton. We'll talk more about him when we come back, because this is a guy who's kind of under the radar, but boy, he makes plays all the time, and he did again today. That's all coming up when we continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. Final score again, Steelers 26, Broncos 21, Pittsburgh 2-0. And we'll see what happens with the Ravens later today against the Texans, who come here next week. The Steelers could be in sole possession of first place. We'll be back with more coverage right after this on Pittsburgh CW.
Grit, determination, desire to be the best, or as we call it, going to work. But good luck getting the job done without the right tools. You'll need an F-150 with best-in-class payload and plenty of capability to do it right. That's how you become the best-selling trucks in Pittsburgh and the official truck of your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Awesome internet. It's more than just fast. It keeps all your devices running smoothly. With built-in security that protects your kids, no matter what they're up to. Protects your info and gives you 24/7 peace of mind. That if it's connected, it's protected.
Here, want a treat?
Even that pet camera thingy. Can your internet do that? Xfinity XFi can, because it's simple, easy, awesome.
Want to sell your Pittsburgh area home faster and for the best price? Then make it RE/MAX Select Realty. RE/MAX Select agents sell up to 3 times as many homes as other agents. That means more buyers searching your neighborhood right now. Call RE/MAX Select today. We'll meet and list your home tomorrow. Plus, get your free RE/MAX market price evaluation. Selling your home is a big decision. Make it RE/MAX Select Realty. See us now at selecthomefinder.com.
This is our battleground. This is why we train and train and train. Why we suit up, take the field. This is game day every day. Our opponents are the toughest out there, but we take on tough. Rise beyond the challenge, because when it's all on the line, we're on call. This is our team and yours. UPMC, life-changing medicine.
Welcome back to Steelers Extra Point, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
We're back with more Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke, Rich Walsh with you, and we will be taking your calls momentarily to get your take on this. But, gentlemen, let's get your take on the pass rush. Once again, 7 sacks today. The Steelers have led the NFL in sacks for the past 3 seasons, and you can expect that to continue. Forced turnovers, a lot of good stuff there. They gave up yards late, Rich, but at the end, they had enough cushion where they could put that game away with a blitz that came from an unusual source in Terrell Edmunds.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise for me there at the end. I wouldn't have picked him, the guy that really sealed the game for the Steelers. But, I mean, T.J. Watt, he's in the backfield just about every play, 2.5 sacks today. Mike Hilton, that guy is just a playmaker. He had a sack today, too. Led the Steelers with 8 solo tackles. He's just all over the field. And it seemed like every time I looked up, Jeff Driscoll was getting hit. And this Steelers pass rush, it's got to be the best outside linebacker tandem in the NFL right now. And it's something that every offense has to prepare for because these guys can get to the quarterback, especially with a guy like Bud Dupree. He's the quickest on this team, 10 yards. And once he can get to you, and then it's kind of over for the quarterback. So both those guys did a great job getting the backfield today, and Jeff Driscoll was running all over the place. I'm kind of surprised that the Broncos actually made it as close as they did there in the second half.
Yeah, it was exciting, Bob, to watch this defense get after the quarterback today. Last week, Bud Dupree had a huge game against the New York Giants. Today, they were determined not to let Bud Dupree get after the quarterback. You see, his one sack was really on a pressure by T.J. Watt where he tripped up Driscoll or actually tripped up Locke. And then Bud Dupree was able to finish off and cause that fumble. For the most part, he was getting double teamed. That's what allowed T.J. Watt to get those 2.5 sacks and a plethora of pressures on Driscoll throughout the day. Here's what happens. You've got to pick your poison. It's very difficult because if you double team both T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree, you're going to get eaten up inside by Cameron Hayward and Alu, and you're going to get by Tuitt. So they have a lot of good pass rushers in there, and what I love to see is these games. You talk about twists on each side where you have the defensive end, you have the Bud Dupree, the outside linebacker, coming inside, and Cam Hayward coming around the outside. They were getting so much pressure from those twists that you had Driscoll spinning the whole game.
Yeah, there's no question about that. You mentioned double team, and for the first time, I've seen people try to double team Bud Dupree. That's a sign of respect. It's going to make it tough on opposing defenses. Here are the bottom line numbers you need to know. 19 quarterback hits today by the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, 11 tackles for losses, and 7 sacks, 2 forced turnovers. I mean, all those things should make for a winning combination just about every week. And one of the guys who came up with one of the biggest plays at the end, Terrell Edmunds. Let's go to his interview now from Steelers Heinz Field.
Alan Saunders, Pittsburgh Sports Now.
Hey, Terrell. It seemed like in the first game you guys had a pretty obvious game plan that you really wanted to take Saquon Barkley out of that game. How different was the game plan for this one, knowing that Denver had a bit more diverse offense? And how much did that have to change when they went from Locke to Driscoll in the first half there?
I mean, we came in with kind of a similar game plan as last week. We came in, we were trying to come down and play our game, but once they switched quarterbacks, everything switched up because we didn't know exactly what we were going to get out of the second quarterback. So we had to go back to the basics, go back to camp rules, and continue to play what we know. Like, just go back to how we played in camp and just get a feel for them before, and then come back out and adjust to it.
Mike Prizzuto, DVE.
Terrell, had you rushed much, if at all, prior to that fourth down? And as they're coming to the line, did you sense you were going to be unblocked and you had a chance to make the play there?
Rushed a few times. When I had to come down, I was like, if I'm open, I got to make the play. It's fourth down. Everyone was out there. We were like, we're ready. Everyone was like, we love the game. That's exactly the words that we had on the field. We was like, man, we love this. Let's go out and make a play. So then it came out I was the open guy to make the play, so that's how it came.
Mark Cabali, The Athletic.
Hey, Terrell, you just said when you had to come down, were you initially supposed to blitz in that play, or is that because the motion came to your side?
Honestly, I think you'll have to ask Coach Tomlin. I think that's giving up the game plan some, so I don't want to give up the game plan for anybody that we got to play in the upcoming weeks.
All right.
Edmunds with a very productive day, especially at the end. Chris, I want to talk about 2 other guys defensively with you, and I know your focus is always on defense, which is where you played, but a guy who played on that line today and coming into the season didn't get a lot of love, but he's been around for a long time. Former number 1 pick of Jacksonville, now here, Tyson Alualu, and also Mike Hilton. You know, he's another guy who's in one of these play now to get paid after this season. Yeah. We talk about Watt, we talk about Dupree, we talk about Connor and Juju Smith-Schuster, but Mike Hilton's another guy putting up some big numbers.
Yeah, you're talking about 2 guys that are playing great football right now. Tyson Alualu, just doing a great job. And you talk about the pressure and that he's bringing up the middle. You saw that great move where he's able to get around the center and a nice jerk on that center and get to the quarterback and get that sack, which was stepped up into the pocket because of the pressure on the outside from T.J. Watt. And he is playing very well in the run game as well, solidifying that middle, playing down the field, and being able to get tackles in the backfield. Mike Hilton, right now, I don't know. To me, he might be the MVP of this defense after 2 games. His calculation in terms of his timing, getting to the quarterback and timing up those blitzes and getting in the backfield and getting sacks. Today picked up that fumble and took it back to put it deep into the territory of the Denver Broncos. He's always getting the backfield tackle for a loss. So this is a guy right now who's playing at a high level, and he knows that it's his time to shine because his number's being called.
Another guy on offense we're talking a lot about is Chase Claypool. He's played on special teams, and he likes doing that. Had 3 tackles there, but also put his name in the record books behind Juju Smith-Schuster and also Martavis Bryant for rookie catches and length. He had an 84-yard touchdown pass in this game. 3 targets, 3 catches. Rich, this is a guy who, as I said at the beginning of the season, just because of the crowded nature of wide receiver, I didn't expect a lot of numbers from him, but I expected big quality from him, and today was quality.
Yeah, he's taking advantage of his limited opportunities. He's also making some plays in special teams. I'll be the one to first admit here that I wanted the Steelers to draft J.K. Dobbins. I'm changing my mind. This guy is making me change my mind right now. He's 4th on the Steelers' all-time list now for longest touchdown in Steelers franchise history with that 84-yard catch and touchdown. Got his feet in. He looks like he's been in the league a couple years now. This guy's making big plays. He might not know the offense quite like James Washington or Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's getting in when his number's going to be called at some point, and he's making the plays that he has to, and he's a big reason why the Steelers walked away with this as winners today.
And Chris, he has a big body. When you look at it, if you put it next to Eric Ebron, for example, it's almost the same size. He's a tight end kind of physique, and yet he could run by defensive backs, which he showed today.
He's got a big body. Let me tell you something. Right now, he's just showing that he can carry a load if it's given to him. And so Ben throwing the ball up last week into double coverage, him going up and getting the ball on the sideline. Then today, going out and getting that ball when Ben threw it up under pressure and running underneath it, staying in bounds, going for an 84-yard touchdown, catch and run. He's proving to the coaching staff and to Ben that he can be counted on. We're just seeing the beginning of what he can do and what the Steelers are going to ask him to do. There is a lot of talent in that receiving core. Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and now Chase Claypool. It's going to see how Ben's going to distribute the ball because right now they all are making plays.
And speaking of Chase Claypool, he is now in front of the Zoom over at Steelers Heinz Field. Let's go there and hear from him today. 84-yard touchdown, 3 for 3 in targets.
Sometimes you hear the play call and you know you're going to score or you know the ball's coming your way. So that was one of those plays where, I knew I had a pretty good chance to get the ball and I just had to kind of win on the route. And Ben put it in a perfect spot for me to go do that. So it was pretty cool.
Let's go to Dejan. DK, go ahead.
Chase, when you're running under a ball, sometimes that could freak out even a really good receiver when it's up that long and that high. Take me through your head there. What's going through your mind as that thing is up there?
Yeah, usually it's kind of tough to focus on the ball when you're running full speed because your head's shaking a little bit. But Ben lofted it up pretty good to where it wasn't that hard to kind of see the ball, if that makes sense. So I really just had to run under it, and it was right there for me. So wasn't too bad.
Let's go to a
All right, Chase Claypool with a nice effort today. 84-yard touchdown, one of the longest runs, pass catches in Steeler history by a rookie receiver. As I said, Juju Smith-Schuster had that one in Detroit, you might remember, and Martavis Bryant had one, but that one is right up there. When we continue, we will talk more about this game, a 5-point win by the Steelers, who are now 2-0, and we have your calls coming up. So I'm sure you have impressions of this game. This is your place to do it. We'll continue live on Pittsburgh CW. Steelers win by 5.
Is your air conditioning running constantly during these warm summer days? Are you frequently turning your thermostat down to make your home cooler? Is the sun making the glass hot to the touch? If you've been putting off replacing those old windows for any reason, America's favorite window company, West Shore Home, is making it easier than ever to replace those windows and patio doors. Hey everybody, Joe here with BJ. BJ Worthington, owner of West Shore Home. BJ, for homeowners wondering if they have to replace all their windows at once or if they can do it in stages, maybe 3 or 4 at a time, how's it work with West Shore?
All right, Joe, so here's how it works. So for those customers that do the whole house, what they tell us is that they feel an instant difference in the temperature in their home, but not everybody does the whole house all at once. Some may just do 3 or 4 windows at a time. Oftentimes you might start with the front of the home and really kind of work on that curb appeal.
That's good to know, because for me it would be a lot more doable to do it one side at a time. All right, can you make it even more affordable, BJ?
So everything we do at West Shore Home on these window replacement projects is made to be easy and affordable. So here's what we can do. So customers tell us all the time, I've been wanting West Shore windows for years. I've been wanting that 5-star remodeling experience, but they thought they had to save up a lot of money because they had to do the whole house at once. So to make it really easy, pick and choose how many you do. We're gonna take $150 off each window. But for those that wanna do the whole house, really special financing, 4 full years, 0% interest.
So you're saying $150 off every window and 4 full years, 0% interest. You've never done that before. Wow. Now we mentioned doors at the top. Can you do something with doors?
Sure. So a lot of people that are thinking about window projects are also thinking about doing doors. So whether it's a patio door in the back of the house, maybe the front entry door, we're gonna take $500 off each door.
What an amazing deal. PJ, thank you so much, folks. Call West Shore Home today. Take advantage of this limited TV offer. $150 off every window and $500 off every front entryway and patio door. And if you call right now, get free financing for 48 months. Call West Shore Home now.
The Xfinity Extra Point is brought to you by Xfinity. Change the way you experience TV with Xfinity X1.
Welcome back to Steelers Extra Point, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
Welcome back, everyone. The Steelers now 2-0, and we said at the beginning of the season they had a chance to take advantage of a schedule that was not as hard as a lot of teams in the NFL. So, Chris, let's look ahead a little bit. People are wondering what's next and if they could increase this record, and I think they can.
Yeah, great start to the season, 2-0, Bob. Let's take a look at the Ford road ahead for the next 4 games. The Steelers next week take on the Houston Texans right now, who are in a battle in Houston against the Baltimore Ravens, down 10-0 at this point. Then the following week, 2 weeks from now, they're playing at Tennessee. Tennessee is the first 2-0 start after the win today against Jacksonville, a hard-fought game, a win of 33-30. The first 2-0 start since 2008, Bob. Philadelphia the following week, they're off to a tough start. They're 0-2, and I took it on the chin today, 37-19 against the Los Angeles Rams. And then you have the Cleveland Browns. If the first AFC North game coming 4 weeks from now, they won, if you remember, on Thursday Night Football versus the Cincinnati Bengals, 35-30. You look at Baker Mayfield, he had a rebound game in that game and played pretty well. So that's the next 4 weeks for the Steelers. And it's looking like, the next 2 weeks are going to be tough. The Texans are tough, and then also the Titans are playing scrappy ball. And so there's going to be some battles coming up.
Yeah, you got some run games to worry about. You mentioned the Browns. Chubb and Hunt look pretty good as a 1-2 punch. In fact, they just ran it down Cincinnati's throat to end that game. So there are going to be some tests, although they faced pretty good tests with Saquon Barkley and today Melvin Gordon. All right, Chris, hang along. We're going to be back with you and me, and we're going to take calls. This time we invite you to call us at 412-575-2600. That's the number for the sports call. It comes up next until 6 o'clock, and then tonight after the late news on KDKA, and we'll probably be on a little later tonight. Join us, though. We've got the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, and on it, Andrew Filipponi, Colin Dunlap, Rich Walsh join me. We have a lot to talk about, not just Steelers, Pirate stuff. No hitter that might have been that never got a chance to be. We'll get into that and more. That's all coming up tonight at 11:35 or thereabouts. In the meantime, your calls are next. Thanks for joining us on the Extra Point. We got the sports call. Want to hear from you either by phone or by tweet next on CW.